They are watching, they know what I'm saying.
Some will fact check that.
The Deputy President spoke over the weekend, wasn't very pleased. Listen to what he said.
So the problem, Senator Mandago, is a few leaders from this region who have proximity to the president. Ndio wanakoroga siasa huko kwetu. Kudanganya watu watuanze kupanga mambo ya 2032. That is the problem there.
Usiogope kupigiwa kelele. Kama utapigiwa kelele, ujue kiti yako ni bure. Lakini kama kiti yako ni tamu, lazima watu wakuwe wanang'ang'ania, wanataka hiyo utamu yenye wewe unasikia kukalia hiyo kiti. Unajua watu wengine wakiona mtu anaitwa tu Your Excellency, anataka hata kuitwa tu Excellency itoshi. Wewe usiogope, focus.
Msijaribu kutupangia siasa ya Mlima Kenya na kutupangia uongozi wa Mlima Kenya. Nyinyi mupange siasa yenu na uongozi wenu. Siku Rais William Ruto atastaafu after 10 years. Sisi hatutaingilia vile mnataka kupanga. Nyinyi mtapanga wenyewe. Siasa huko kwetu wa mwezani nayo ni ngumu sana. Huko ya mlima ni ngumu sana.
Okay, you know, Gachagua just told us that services are improving in Mukurweini. I don't know what's happening to the politics in the region, but you get to that. Fred, what's your reading of this?
You know, Sam, President William Ruto told Kenyans that he will never, at any given time, do anything or allow anyone to do anything that would undermine his deputy. And he was basing this from his experience with the last administration, where he felt that he was undermined, he was mistreated. And he promised the people of Kenya that he'll never do that. Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto are joined at the hip by the Constitution through an election. And therefore, there's nothing that William Ruto can do to Rigathi Gachagua, even if they were to differ today. The same to Rigathi. Now, if you listen to Rigathi Gachagua...
What do you mean by that? Nothing at all?
Nothing in terms of even dismissing.
Yeah.
It means that process must go through Parliament if he was to be impeached, and of course on grounds that must be validated. But 2 years later, you hear now, panga kwenu, tutapanga kwetu. Is no longer our government. Then when you listen to Deputy Rigathi Gachagua, he actually says that there are people who are close to the president who are undermining him. He's not mentioning them, but he's saying he knows them. The other time he said that he might not be very clever, but he's not stupid. And also he said there are things he knows. Then when he went out, he actually went bare knuckles and said some leaders from Rift Valley are planning or crafting succession planning for 2032 in Mount Kenya. So he is telling them to stop. Then he mentioned the issue of 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. Then he went ahead some and said he is welcoming all the political leaders, whether in Azimio, whether in Kenya Kwanza, whichever political affiliation, to come together with the view of uniting the mountain. Yeah. He understands that mountain politics is difficult, and he has warned the other leaders from Rift Valley to stop the politics of Mount Kenya because it's complex. My reading of this is that Rigathi Gachagua has just realized that there's a problem in this marriage. The marriage of Kenya Kwanza, where he feels that he is equally an important leader at the top and is not being listened to either, or there are people who are deliberately undermining him because of their proximity to the president. I see a situation where Rigathi Gachagua might want to actually assert authority by reaching out to the leaders who are not necessarily in Kenya Kwanza, so that he can be seen to be a uniting factor and having protected that base. Then the other thing, Sam, I think...
What do you mean assert authority?
He is not asserting authority now. That's why he can go to Rift Valley and say, there are people from this region who are coming to undermine me in Mount Kenya. So you want to be seen as the leader of Mount Kenya.
Why does he need that?
Politically, he needs it. Politically, he needs it. He has always told us that he is the senior-most leader in Central Kenya.
That's what I'm asking. Why does he need that? He's the deputy president.
He's the deputy president.
Why does he need that?
I think he politically needs that so that he can use that position to negotiate for his people and to negotiate for his region. That is how politics is.
Negotiate for what?
For the services that Kagusha is saying are now progressing very well in Central Kenya. He believes that he has to address the issue of kahawa. He believes he has to address the issue of alcohol. He believes he has to address the issue of macadamia. So if he's to address that...
Where? Negotiate where?
Negotiate with the government of the day.
He sits in it.
He sits in it, and he feels that he's not one of them.
Yeses that sit in cabinet for that purpose.
I am telling you, from what Rigathi Gachagua is telling us, he is not happy. He is not happy because his work as a deputy president is not being recognized by certain people who are close to the president. So he needs a lot of leadership consultation with him, particularly from his region, to show that he is the leader. Because right now, you look at a gentleman...
You see, Fred, sorry to disrupt your line of thought, but at the end of the day, the essence of public service is essentially that, public service.
Not in Kenya. Yeah.
Let me just frame this. So for someone to be elected to sit in an office, the promise was to serve the people. He's deputy president, sits in cabinet. So that asserting authority within the region of Mount Kenya, where does it come in to questions of service if Honorable Kagusha is to say here the service is actually improving in his constituency?
You see, first of all, I doubt if services are improving in Kenya.
No, that aside.
So if you take
reflect on the other part
of Mount Kenya, what the deputy president is doing is playing politics. He is a politician, and astute one for that matter. And he knows that he needs the entire Mount Kenya leadership to support him, to back him, so that when he says he's the topmost leader, that can reflect in what he's saying. Today, as it is, if he can admit on a national TV that is being undermined by people who are close to the president. Remember, he's the senior most. So it means he's being undermined by his juniors. So he needs political protection to come out of that. That's what I'm saying, Sam. And the politics he's playing is not a very light politics. It's very heavy politics. Because remember, when he was nominated as the deputy president nominee at that time, when William Ruto was mentioning those who had applied and congratulating them, he mentioned Ndindi, he mentioned Alice Wahome, and when there was Kindiki, and then there was him. What do you think he's thinking now if, for one or two reasons, there are people that were also nominees and today they are not reading on the same page, particularly Ndindi, for example, who has been mentioned that, he has been walking around trying to persuade some leaders with a view of crafting 2032 succession politics. So in my view, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is going to be one of the headaches of Kenya Kwanza after cost of living, because he will be all over and he will be pinpointing exactly who is this person that is undermining him, and he will not remove that microphone from him. He will be very truthful as he has been. I think the best thing to do is the president must call out the people that are perceived to be undermining Rigathi. He must talk to them and he must remind them of what he told the people of Kenya, us, that he will not do anything to undermine his deputy. If anything, he has given his deputy roles. Remember the executive order?
So because you single out a few of the politicians, including Ndindi Nyoro, so how does that undermine him?
I think from what I read, Sam, is that, there's a time that there are a section of Mount Kenya leaders who actually endorsed Ndindi Nyoro to be one of the potential leaders in the coming days. You saw that. So that, in my view, must have not gone very well with the deputy president. He feels that they have work to do between now and the time they exit office. And people here who are coming from his region are already endorsing one of their own to start crafting succession politics. He is not happy about that. Number two, I've also seen a deputy president who is feeling that there are certain things that he wanted to do and they're not happening as he wanted them. A case in place, the fight against cartel in Mount Kenya, in the tea industry, in the cow industry, all those industries. He has really tried and come out and say, you know what, there are cartels for sure. And if these cartels could be manufactured by some of the leaders from that region, then again, he feels that that is not right. Then the other thing, let me think.
Sorry, I'll get back to you, but first, Honorable Gachagua, so that is his reading of what is going on. But what is going on? You come from the region, you would know.
I've listened to Okango talk, and sometimes I feel like I want to laugh at him.
Oh, do you laugh?
And you know, the Azimio people have come on board to really be the analysts of this situation, and also to give a lot of input and a lot of unwarranted advice. But I would want to say that Bwana Okango and the company, ukiona mandugu wawili wanapigana, chukua jembe ukalime, na wakipatana, chukua kikapu ukavune. When you find that two close people are fighting, it's only good that you go and cultivate, because sooner than later they will come together. And if you minded your own business, you will have something to harvest. If you don't mind your business, you'll be left in between. If you see a husband and a wife in a fight, don't get into it, because sooner than later.
Who is the husband here? Who is the wife?
Sooner than later.
Who is the husband?
Sooner than later, the husband and the wife will come together, and you will be left in between, and you will not know which side to go. And so when you find people who are in a political arrangement, and they have issues here and there.
What are the issues? Sorry, Gachagua, that's what Sam is asking. What are these issues?
Please, Fred, I think he was very quiet when you were speaking. Allow him to make his answer.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, so once you find that people have one or two issues here and there, I think let them settle their issues. But of course, the nature of politics, anyway, Sam, is such that the opposition will definitely be very happy when they find that there are issues that are unsettled in the other side.
So
and of course, similarly.
So what's happening?
Similarly,
yeah.
The government also, when they find that the opposition is having issues here and there, they will still be happy to celebrate.
So thank you for stating those realities.
What is happening in Kenya?
Yeah.
And really, this is not a Mount Kenya problem. It's not a Central Kenya problem, neither is it a Mount Kenya problem. We have a situation where largely different regions are transitioning from what has been known as established political systems and political leaders. And the transition started in Mount Kenya region after Uhuru left, or by the time Uhuru was leaving. The transition process started. At that time, you remember Uhuru said that he was going nowhere. And then he was told, no, you must go. Your time to go has come. And that process is still taking shape as to who then goes how.
Yeah.
And you can see the deputy president has taken the position as the senior most person in the region and says that I must be respected, and that there cannot be any more talk now about transition when I'm already seated on this position, because then I am. And you definitely you see and find that there is other...
So who is the leader of Mount Kenya region politically?
I mean, as we talk, the person who leads Mount Kenya is the senior most person, who is the deputy president, William Samoei. I mean, well, the Rigathi Gachagua. Are you getting?
Maybe you're right.
Rigathi Gachagua. Are you getting? So, and being the senior most person, then he leads the region.
Does he?
But again, of course he does. He is the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. And he is the senior most person in Mount Kenya region. And so what has happened is that the issue of him now taking that position has, of course, challenges from different quarters here and there. And you see the same thing is happening.
What challenges?
I mean, you have had the issues that he has raised, the deputy president, that there are other people who are talking about succession, and they are talking about 2032. And of course, that then becomes a challenge at any point. And I'm saying this is a wider issue in the country. And when you have one transition coming from one political system to another, then you expect this. The mother of all trouble is coming in Nyanza sooner than later, and so they would better they would better be looking at what is happening elsewhere to know how they handle. Because as you can already see, by the way, you will see some of the politicians. Like my friend Karoli Omondi and and a few others, even these youngsters here, Babu, I've seen something today on one of the newspapers saying something funny, something interesting. So, but what I'm trying to say is that as you go to the Nyanza region also, as the political system is transitioning now from Raila Odinga, because his days really have also been much spent, and transition will also be happening there. And of course, the other experienced hands in that region, like Orengo and others, are also, and Nyong'o are also quite of age now. So you are also likely to find just tooling of, power as
Honorable Kagushia, you've said so much.
So I'm
not responding to my question. Sorry, let me.
I have described the situation that we have in Mount Kenya region,
I'll come back to
and
you.
that we also have in the country.
Thank you. I'll come back to you. On Citizen TV Kenya at Sam Gituko, the hashtag to use the Citizen. Debrek, what are Kenyans saying about this particular topic? Dima King, it's evident that the relationship between the president and his deputy has a rift, and very clear that Ruto has undermined him and let his singer birds get out of hand. This is the beginning of the end of Kenya Kwanza marriage. Gabi Wakasiaka, there is serious bickering in Kenya Kwanza brigade. It is pitting the old politicians versus the younger generation. It's no longer hustlers versus dynasties. It's the old Gachagua versus the youth Sudi. Really, is it? Geoff Mwita, the DP is telling us that some of his boss's friends are planning succession politics with perceived junior central leaders who might overtake him. The DP is worried that maybe the president might have a hand in this. Sir Nixon Dugire, you're saying Mount Kenya politics is getting worse because the plan to defragment the Mount Kenya vote is now elaborate with the formation of Team Gachagua, Team Ndindi, close to the president, Team Haki Coalition, Team Neutral, and others. Okay. Bobo Tieno, you're saying that Mount Kenya is feeling the heat of Super CS Musalia Mudavadi's role in the government for the succession politics of 2032 when President William Ruto ends, which has got DP Gachagua uneasy because they don't have their kingpin. Honorable Kagushia, I don't know why you're laughing, but so Fred, here we are.
Yes.
And we know what happened in the years 2015 up until 2022, when there was a bit of turmoil in the Ruto camp, and ending up with the fallout after the handshake of 2018 March.
Absolutely.
And that had an implication on the Kenyan space, as you know it, whether it's economy, whether it's politics, whether it's social cohesion. It wasn't the best time politically, ending up until the 2022 election. Why don't we never learn? We never learn lessons. What this can do to a country.
It's true, we never learn lessons. And I'm happy you have given the implications that had. And that's why I would want to tell my brother Kagushia that I cannot mind my business when the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and I'm a Kenyan, has gone public and announced to the people that he is being undermined. He is my Deputy President too, even though I never voted for him. So I have to be worried about his concerns. His concerns are that when he is being undermined by people who are close to his boss, then even chances of him delivering to the people of Kenya are limited. And Kagushia should know that. Number two, the issues at hand here, Sam, that Kagushia is not telling you, are more than politics. And by the time the Deputy President identifies people who are undermining him to be close to the president, he said, wako na pesa na wamekuwa na kiburi. It means they are now condescending. You know, they're looking at him like he's a nobody, while he participated in the formation of the Kenya Kwanza government. I am not in the position to defend him, but I can see from where I sit that this is a gentleman who is already getting frustrated. And when he gets frustrated, the first thing he will do, he will go back to his community and tell his community that that marriage that I went into is no longer working. I want you to advise me so that you tell me where to go. And those are the start of those Limuru 3, Limuru 4, whatever. I want to believe
Are you saying Limuru 3 was...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there could be a possibility of where when he feels frustrated, the same way Ruto felt frustrated, he went back and cobbled a working formula to move into government through election. This time round, Gachagua has not told us that he's running for president. But as every politician, he harbors ambitions. So when he sees that he's being surrounded by people who are not very useful to him in this government, he will likely try to cobble something else. Then lastly, Sam, the issues of Mount Kenya are very many. And we have been told that by the leaders from Mount Kenya, including Kagusha here, and Rigathi Gachagua. I feel that as the topmost leader of Mount Kenya, Rigathi Gachagua should actually sit down with his boss, President William Ruto, and iron out these issues, because it is not tidy in the eyes of public that the deputy president can complain publicly in the absence of the president in his region and say he's being undermined by the people close to the president. So he must sit down with the president and tell the president that the people undermining him are this. Yes.
Of the president and the deputy.
If it happens.
Yeah. So what would the deputy president tell the president?
I think he should tell him right fully in his face that, you know, so and so and so are our people in this government and they are undermining my work politically or whatever way. He should tell him. And the president should also call them and tell them they have a job to do as the Republic of Kenya and the leadership in that government. And that job, we have always been reminded by the president.
Who would those offenders be?
I don't know them. He has said there are people close to the president. He has said it. So it means he knows them. Remember the deputy president told us, Sam, he is not very clever. But he's also not stupid. Then he ended by saying there's something he knows. So these things that he knows, he should tell his boss. Sam, when you have a problem at work, you actually go to your boss and explain to your boss that I am working very well. However, I feel that there is this challenge here, here, and here. Okay. A good boss will listen to you. But not only listen to you, Sam, a good boss will also tell you this is how we want to address it. So Kagusha and the team from Mount Kenya, I think the best thing that you can do, you can call yourself into order, meet your deputy president or the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, who is now your topmost leader, and advise him to seek the audience of the president, let them sit down and bring this country back to order. And the issue of opposition that you said, because I cannot forget that, I don't think Raila is the president of the Republic of Kenya today. So the issues at in the opposition will be addressed as such. But the issue that is concerning the leadership of a country at the level of the deputy president and the president is a concern to all of us, whether in opposition or government. We must speak about it and we must give our views. My view is that they should sit down with the president and address it. The president is coming from the US. The public were happy and they were looking at him like somebody who has achieved. We cannot allow to see another fight that will derail all the gains that we want to see.
Honorable Kagusha, now I'm looking at the story that is on page 5 of the Daily Nation, and it's quoting Mwangi Kiunjuri as having spoken and said that the DP is the cause of his own problems. He's quoted as saying, "You cannot be walking around dismissing elected leaders as traitors, collaborators, and good for nothing, then say you are uniting people." He also saying that President William Ruto, in the presence of Mr. Gachagua and other leaders from Mount Kenya region, promised us his personal support for the formula. You cannot be an activist and a cabinet member at the same time. We cannot be made to submit to a person like small children. Let him continue, but once he pushes us to the wall, we will come out fighting.
So, you know, one of
there clearly is a problem in Mount Kenya, is it?
One of the things that I think we're also not mentioning here.
Yeah.
You know, I listened to the Deputy President speak the other day and said that he's been pushing the coffee agenda. And I remember him saying that I have talked to our boss about the coffee waiver amounts, which is totaling to about 7 billion, and they have agreed. The same has been presented in the cabinet subcommittee where the Deputy President leads, and that the same has also been presented to the main cabinet where the President is the one who leads it, and he said that that has been approved. You know, those are some of the areas, you know, amidst all these that I'm looking at, and I'm wondering, the President has given the Deputy President a whole subcommittee of cabinet to lead, and the President has entrusted him to really take up.
So how come recently at State House when there was a meeting of KTDA, the Deputy President wasn't there?
No, that time he clearly indicated that he had gone for prayers.
But he's leading such a serious subcommittee, as you say.
No, but the Deputy President had indicated that he had his phone off because he had gone for prayers, and I think really that...
Did he know there was a meeting of such magnitude of the tea sector at State House?
You see, Sam, what happens is that when someone takes an off or a leave, it doesn't mean that work does not continue happening. Whenever work continues happening, then...
However important that role could be.
I mean, like even when the President is in America, for example, the Deputy President leads subcommittees here and they deal with very heavy matters.
So who was leading the subcommittee in the absence of the Deputy President?
No, it was only 1 week. Yeah.
There was a crucial meeting at State House.
Yeah.
Do you know the meeting I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. You're talking about the KTDA meeting.
And the Deputy President who has been leading that sector was not there.
Yeah, he indicated himself that he was on off duty. He had taken an off.
Does that sound okay to you?
I mean, what's the problem with that?
No, if you're leading a sector...
Some, for example...
If you're leading a sector...
You go for paternity leave. Does it mean that this show will not be done?
The Deputy President was not.
And it's a very important show that
he was not on paternity leave.
Do. I'm not saying he was on paternity leave. I'm just saying when the Deputy President has taken a few days off for important personal reasons, reflection, prayers...
And after the reflection, we saw the meeting in Endarasha. Then shortly after, we saw him speaking in Keses.
He has also talked about...
Is that the product of the reflections?
He has also talked about other issues to do with development of the region, like the issue of the coffee and the waiver, which they have agreed with the President.
When did he speak about that?
You're getting? Yeah, actually, I think he spoke about it either in Endarasha or in Kirinyaga after that. Yeah, and in Kirinyaga during the burial of his Kenyaga principle, he talked about the issue of the waiver, and he actually talked about having discussed and agreed with the President about it.
So is there a solution out of this? That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, there must come out a solution because we are expecting the two leaders must work together because any of that disharmony is likely to affect the country negatively. And so it's important that what I would again call a storm in the teacup settles faster and sanity prevails. I mean, this is only 1.5 years into leadership, and so it means there's so much that the government needs to deliver to the wananchi, a lot that the government needs to deliver to the people of Kenya. But I can tell you that as my brother here predicts that, and I think even one of the people who responded at the end of KK marriage, I can clearly say that there is nowhere Mount Kenya is going. Mount Kenya is in government to stay. The Mount Kenya region voted for the William Samoei Ruto government, and it cannot leave.
First of all, do you agree with the sentiments of the Deputy President?
About?
What he said, that he's being undermined, that he wants people to back off.
No, well, I think that's something I need to also maybe get it from him in a way that I also understand. I'm really hoping that at some point...
So for now you don't? I mean, sure, last week you told me the same. It's been a week. You must have had time.
No, well, last time we talked about the governor's remarks. We didn't really talk about it because you know the deputy president had not talked.
Is that you saying that you don't have a position about the deputy president's stance at the moment?
No, these things we need to have sittings. We need to listen.
You don't have a stance at the moment?
I mean, how would I have a stand of something that I have not heard from the horse's mouth? Are you getting? So we need to have a sitting and be explained to MPs. These are the issues. This is where the shoe is pinching us. This is where we need to intervene. Without that, then, it is a difficult call on me to take a position.
Okay.
Are you getting?
I hear you. I hear you, Honorable Gachagua. I just don't know why it was taking you so long to say that. Maybe there are things we wouldn't have even spoken about. But anyway, so we have to come to the end of the show. We're hoping that we'll get time to speak about the deals between the US and Kenya. Maybe very quick remarks from you, Fred, and Honorable Gachagua, about where we go from here, because like we saw yesterday, a lot of them are commitments. They're not necessarily, actually, more of them are promises, not necessarily something that you can say that it kicks off starting a particular month. Your take on it generally, but also what Kenya needs to do to make sure that we maximize on these possible gains. Yeah,
I agree with you that most of them are promissory notes, but I'm happy that they have captured a wider area of strategic dialogue themes. For example, when you talk about economic prosperity, democracy, defense cooperation, health, and even multilateral and regional issues. But of great importance is the designation of Kenya as a non-NATO ally. That is very useful. Such a designation is prestigious, and also it comes with some benefits of military cooperation and even financial. But I think Kenyans should be very careful because the implementation of these promises can take time. While they're very good on paper, the implementation can take time. And lastly, I also believe that the relationship between the two countries, as much as it has been enhanced, there are also risks to this. The people in the continent, other countries in the continent who might not be very comfortable with such a relationship might be our enemies politically or economically. And number two, there are also risks of enemies of the US, for example. If they feel that there's so much investment in Kenya as a nation, they would easily want to attack and say, okay, fine, whether politically or economically, remember the president was saying he will not look west or east, but will look forward. So such issues are likely to come. But generally, in my view, sometimes also good to be objective. Gachagua thinks that as in the opposition, we always oppose everything. No, this trip was very good, other than the debate around its cost. But if you look at the gains, whether they are promissory notes or not, they are actually things that, if implemented, then this country can go forward. Particularly then the issue of education. Look at those billions of dollars that have been put in terms of exchange program, the Kenyans going to the US, to study, and so on and so forth. I believe that when implemented it will be something that is very useful to the people of Kenya.
All right. Mheshimiwa Gachagua?
By the way, Okango, I highly think of you as a very serious intellectual and a very objective young man. So at no one point do I think that you are just political. The issue of the US trip, once again, is a hallmark of great profiling and branding for this country. The highest level of respect that this country has earned itself across the globe, that for whooping 4 days, the whole globe was focused on the maneuvers and the positions and the ways that Kenya was moving. And I want to say that ideally at the global level and the diplomatic level, countries are not moved by fear. Rather, they are moved by interests. And so where the interests, the Kenyan interests, meet the US interests, then at that point in time, we celebrate. And the fact that the US is able then to take our country with so much respect and in so much regard.
Right.
And also the fact that the president also acted statemently by not only going with his Kenya Kwanza administration, but also carrying along all the other leaders in this country. It showed a person who is able to really stick his head out beyond just the issue of political, political sides in the country. And that has given us so much respect across the globe. And I dare say that the benefit quite a number of those things.
Commencement?
It should be, the contracts were already signed. The MOU was already signed. Yeah, so the commencement should probably be quite as soon. I'm not sure about the commencement date, but it should be quite soon. But it is going to take 3 to 4 years. Okay. And what I also liked a lot about this engagement is that when the president did sit with the Biden administration, there are very many things that those guys listened to them. And you could clearly see they were very attentive. And even on the table where they were, you could clearly see the president of the United States of America giving in into some of the table. Right. That tells that there was a lot of respect and listening ear to our government. And that makes us very proud as Kenyans. All right. And makes us know that the future is even much more brighter.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Kagusha. Of course, alongside all those is that there were commitments on delivering on democracy, supporting independent civil society groups, bringing transparency to government, fighting corruption, promoting human rights, as well as gathering anti-corruption professionals and strengthening police reform efforts. So many issues that would touch about this software, sorry?
And support of the literacy program.
Literacy program, oh, yeah. Yeah, so a lot of conversations there, especially that would go to the human rights spaces and that the U.S. administration would appear keen on in enhancing that space within the country. I have to thank you all, Honorable John Kagusha and Fred Okango for making time for us. Deputy Speaker Gladys Bose had committed to appearing on the show, but failed to do so. We will check on her to ensure that everything is fine, but that's our time. This has been Daybreak. My name is Sam Gituku. Up next is Matter Social with Safin Acheng Omar.